Deputy President Paul Mashatile is expected to deliver the eulogy at the Special Provincial funeral of Titus Mafolo. The anti-apartheid activist was a member of the Ministerial Advisory Panel in the Human Settlements Ministry. He also served as political advisor to former President Thabo Mbeki and dedicated many years to public service. Currently, we're hearing tributes from some of his friends, including Advocate Mojanku Gumbi, who is on the podium. Let's listen in.
I don't know what I have to do with ANC issues, but there we are now. We have to. So I choose to type, and Chief and Titus are talking, the topic and debating what should go into that ANC today. And sometimes we are exhausted. Titus is looking at me. So I would, as they're busy arguing me, I just type what I think they want to say. And Deputy President, I try to look for that copy of the ANC today, but in our madness as a people, many of the ANC todays have been removed from the ANC website. I think it's something that we have to look at. But anyway, so I finished typing and we left there like at 8 in the morning. So President Mbeki, Mrs. Mbeki, Reverend Shinkani, the important people are staying at the guest house, the American guest house. It was called Blair House. Me and poor Titus have to cross the street to go to the hotel. So it's 8, the sun is shining. I'm wearing a long evening gown, and Titus is wearing a black tie with this in the morning. And I say to him, Titus, these Americans are going to look at us very strangely to say, what's wrong with these ones? And true to him, Ty says to me, well, Mojanku, I don't think Americans think much. How prescient. That's all I would say. But just to say that Ty was just a wonderful person. And the last thing I want to say, Deputy President, as I say in this, this inexplicable capacity of ours as South Africans for self-inflicted harm, I do not understand how a person like Titus will be left to his own devices for so long when this country is calling for more such Tituses. I think we really have to talk about our responsibility to the nation, more than responsibility to the party or to the factions or whatever. What is our responsibility to this country? And so with Titus lying here, I thought to myself, it's a real pity that for so many years, he was lost to his own devices because he is what Samora says he is. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Advocate Mojanku. The next tribute will be done by Father Smangaliso Mkhatshwa. Brasmangi. I can only say Brasmangi, not you.
Program directors, former President Thabo Mbeki, Your Excellency, Deputy President of the Republic. Yeah. Okay. And all dignitaries here present. But most importantly, the Mafolo family. Comrade Valley, we are very grateful that this occasion has brought so many people together, especially comrades who hadn't seen each other for quite a long time. And Comrade Reeves, thank you and your team for putting together such an occasion, which I think to us is of historical importance. I have read comments on Comrade Tai, especially by Kulu, Mbata, by Eddie, I think he's still around here. And I've also read the biography. And I came to the conclusion that I cannot just rehash what they've already said, and they've articulated it so well. I want to zero in on one or two aspects that I've not really heard referred to. And the one is that Titus Mafolo, more than anything else, was a nation builder. He was a community builder. I think that's what makes him so important to us, and we all regret having lost him so early in his life. Before I continue on that one, let me just say that about 2 or 3 months ago, Titus visited me at home, and he brought 3 volumes of his African Odyssey, something that he had promised to do a long time ago. And he had insisted that he wanted to personally hand these volumes over to me. And the other day I was just looking at the page 1 of those, each of those volumes, and there's a message in each and every one specifically addressed to me. I don't have the time to share that with you, but very interesting. For me, that project was very, very, very important, because in it, Tai was trying to say Africa does have a history, a very rich history dating right back to the Egyptian times, when it was high African civilization, which they transmitted to the Greeks, and the Greeks to the Romans, and the Romans and the others all over the world. So it's a lie to say that we just came from the bush and contributed nothing to civilization. But also, that book for me was important, that if and when possible, it would be very good for all our schools and institutions of higher learning to have an opportunity to read and to discuss its contents, because it would change their perception of Africa, but also it will help them and all of us to address some of the challenges that are facing Africa as a whole. If you read the history, the activities of the AU, there's a lot of homework that still needs to be done. I remember there was a time, I can't remember the years, Comrade Mbeki, when you were President of the Republic of South Africa. You, Obasanjo, and the Mozambican president then, and I can't remember the fourth one. That time, you as a group actually tried to change the public image of Africa as a whole, the role of the AU in the struggle for the total liberation of Africa. But unfortunately, that lasted for a number of years, and subsequent leaders, I'm sure they did their best and they continue to do so. But that kind of a vigorous push for an African renaissance, that seems to have taken a little bit of a back burner. I said Titus was a community builder, and I'll try to illustrate 2 or 3 examples over and above what has already been said to us. When I was banned to Soshangove, which was a new township, I knew nobody there, and no institutions existed, because lots of the people we knew in that township that come from neighboring villages and townships and so on. And apartheid gave that community the name of Soshangove, which stands for Sotho, Shangan, Ngoni, vendor. So it was a deliberate attempt to further divide the African people. But what happened, unfortunately for them, is that Thai and other comrades were actually instrumental in literally building that community, building a spirit that did not exist before. How did we do it? Through what we later called people's organs for people's power. The rest is history. The role that those civic structures played all over South Africa, wherever there was a township or a village and so on, the people were organized. That's what gave them so much power and influence. And unfortunately, just prior to 1994, I think we were all excited about the new democracy and so on. That sort of project fizzled out. And one of the reasons today we're struggling to ensure that people do not just look up to government to do things for them, that they regard themselves also as co-governors of the Republic of South Africa. So in that sense, he did a great job. Why did he succeed together with the other comrades? Because he was not arrogant. He respected the people, even the lowest of the lowest people. He had respect for them. He was a hard worker. He was honest. You could trust him. If he made a commitment to do something, you could trust him to do it. The number of times when I had to call him, sometimes quite late at night, to do some work, and one of his weaknesses was that he would never say no. He would promise to do it, and he went all out to do it. I was even worried that Comrade Veli would be very angry with me that I was disturbing the families by keeping this man away instead of enjoying the company of his children. But that was total commitment to a program that he had promised to engage in. Finally, what I also thought made Thai very unique was that he was a dreamer. There's a way he was a dreamer. He was a very thoughtful person, and he envisioned a future South Africa that was probably maybe very different from what it is today. He was a community leader because, as I say, he would never do anything unless it promoted the common good of all. That's one of the reasons why he will be sorely missed. He worked with the youth, the students' organizations. He was involved in cultural activities. He was involved sometimes even in activities that were fairly dangerous for him and maybe even his family. But because of his commitment to the total liberation of our people, Thai was Thai, like his name. He was able to tie things together. So ours is to say, goodbye, Brother Thai. Goodbye. Thank you for what you are, what you did, and what through the works, through your writings, what you have done, you have left behind, and so on, I'm sure will be taken up by some of the younger people, younger generation, to put this country continuous on a higher pedestal, because that is the responsibility of each and every generation, that you try to improve on what you inherited. You make it better all the time, because life is never stagnant. It's changing all the time. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me also then end up by saying, on a very interesting note, in one of our discussions, actually several discussions I had with him, was the question of a religion, faith, the role of religious organizations. And he told me something that I did not know, that I actually read the St. James Version of the Bible. I said, you, the Bible? And he quoted extensively from it, and he probably even knew that Bible better than I did. Now, when I was beginning to get excited that, no, I had converted him, he was now going to take up the faith and so on, I discovered that the reason why he was so fascinated by St. James Version was because of his beautiful language of English.